A quick disclaimer, this is going to be a longer video, so make sure you guys grab your snacks, popcorn, drinks, barbecue if you barbecued this late Saturday afternoon. Make sure you guys grab it, and let's get started. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And what you are seeing on screen currently is a very, very interesting slideshow that I wanted to bring to all the new viewers and subscribers. And even for some of you who have been on the channel, you might have seen this before. So view this as a refresher. So this is a graphic, right, of how T-Mobile internally breaks down each segment that they want to go and compete in, that they aggressively compete in. So just to read them off, so there's small town rural areas, which you guys are familiar with. There's military, there's 55 and over, business, small business and enterprise, suburban, and then the urban. So this is pre-merger. This is T-Mobile as a standalone. This was their plan when they did this presentation. This was their standalone plan. It was Un-carrier everywhere, and they were planning on to expanding regardless of the Sprint merger, they had plans to expand its network and reach new areas. They had that plan with or without Sprint. With Sprint, everything just accelerated. It's supercharged according to what they sold to the government. So let's break these down, right? Some of those percentages changed since the Sprint merger. Some of them relatively the same. So the big one that changed is small market and rural areas. Pre-merger, T-Mobile was at a 7%. I've even been told that pre-merger, that share, T-Mobile was smaller than even Sprint. So they had very, very little rural market share and had very little coverage in those areas to begin with. Now, T-Mobile post-merger is at about 17.5%, 18%. So they've grown. They have a substantial footprint now of market share in small market rural areas. The next one is military at 8%. I'm sure that's a little bit higher now. They really don't update us on that. But they have a 40% discount for military members and family. That is still, even though it's not the 50% anymore, at the 40%, it's still the best in the industry when it comes to military. So I'm sure that's probably a little over 10% now. 55 and over, I don't remember if Sprint really offered that. So T-Mobile is probably still at an 8, maybe 9% now on that. Haven't really grown much there, I don't think. So the business one, this is an interesting one. So overall, they were at a 9% share. And as it comes to large enterprise, they had a 4% share. So each quarter, they keep bragging about best net adds on enterprise, and they took Delta and the National Guard and the Coast Guard and this and that. So they must be at a higher percentage now. Their goal is to get to 20% business share by 2025. So I'm going to anticipate them to at least be at a 15% by now. 15% should be fair. So that's probably at a much higher percentage. So they also break down suburban as its own individual segment. Pre-merger, they were at a 14% share. That's likely closer, I would say, to probably a 20% share now with all the Sprint market share that they gained post-merger. And then T-Mobile's share percentage of total customers. So this was an interesting one to break down. Pre-merger, they were at 19%. 16% of that was postpaid phones. So that meant still 84% of postpaid phones were with Verizon and AT&T at that time. This presentation took place like in 2018, I believe, if I remember it. So still a huge amount of share to gain for T-Mobile. And then urban, 22%. That's, of course, much, much higher now. They're claiming in the top 100 markets almost fair share. So that's higher than fair share a little bit. So the last I heard, they're around 40% now. So they gained a ton of customers there post-Sprint merger. So all of this, right? It just shows that T-Mobile still has insane upside as it comes to growth, right? People are already anticipating, oh, T-Mobile is going to slow down. They're going to raise their pricing where it's just priced too high. They're not going to grow anymore. But looking at this, they still have plenty of room to grow, plenty to gain fair share, right? Let's take small market rural areas for an example. If they get to 20% by 2025, which is the guidance, they still have to grow to 33% to get fair share. And same in these other segments as well. 33% is fair share. There's 3 players. It's 33%. So in order for them to gain substantial market share everywhere, they have to get to at least 33% to gain fair share. And they've already said that's their goal. Peter Osvaldik recently mentioned that with Craig Moffett at the conference. Our goal, which should be no secret, is fair share. So that's a big goal for them to obtain. I mean, can you imagine large business, enterprise, small business, T-Mobile being at 33%? When they get to that level, I mean, they're right there with the competition with everything. And it starts, with the 5G leadership. They really have to expand the network. It starts with redundancy, reliability. All of that has to be baked in to what they build and upgrade to in order for them to get there. They're going to have an easier time in the suburban and the urban core, right? But everything else, they've struggled. They were in the low single digits as a standalone company. Hardly any shot at getting anywhere with that. But now, post-Sprint merger, getting more 600, getting more 2.5 contiguous, buying C-band, and now it's all a reality. It's 100% a reality of them trying to get the fair share. It's going to take some competing. It's going to take them being aggressive, but fair share is clearly in their sights. 20% is just the start. That's just touching, that's just scratching the surface. They're just barely getting started. And they know themselves as a company, the senior level executive team, they know in order for them to get to any type of fair share or get to, the next, 25%, right? Up from 20, it has to be network related. So they got to build a network that is really second to none. And we got to acknowledge that at some point, right? Before, it was really like the language, the talk behind it was it's good enough. And that's what it was as a standalone. When they got started with LTE, most people, they accepted it because price was low. They had good price, they had good value. So people took T-Mobile as, the network's good enough. I'm fine with that. I'm okay because pricing is okay. But now the game changes. If they want to get to fair share in all these segments, the network really has to be second to none. If you're going to pay for one line on the Go 5G Next $100 a month, your network has to be second to none. It has to be reliable. It has to have redundancy. It has to have plenty capacity. It's got to work. It's got to be the best that it can possibly be. That is the only way any of this makes sense. If they still cut corners, if they still don't invest sufficiently, it's going to eventually backfire. Eventually, people will catch on and they will say, hey, look, I'm paying all this money. The network still has issues. I might as well go to Verizon, or I might as well go to AT&T. That's what it's going to come down to in the future if they really don't expand the coverage. The coverage has to be, in my opinion, it needs to already be where the competition is, and it's not. There's roughly still 150 to 200,000 square miles that T-Mobile is behind the competition natively. And to put that in perspective, the entire state of Texas, right, from where I'm at, as far southwest as you could possibly get, bordering New Mexico, that's El Paso, Texas, getting to anywhere like east of here, like Dallas, Austin, Houston, you got to travel like 12, 13, 14 hours to get, if you stop in between to get to those places. That's how big Texas is. It takes you like 16 hours to get out of the state if you're going east. So the state of Texas total square miles is 246,000. So think of it like that. In total, T-Mobile is almost still behind the competition, the entire landmass size of the state of Texas. So that's still a lot. That's still a very large amount that they're behind. Now they're closing the gap on that each and every day. I'm hearing new sites are going up in northern Michigan. I'm hearing new sites are being built in Nebraska, Maine, but that's only the start. They have to build thousands more in order to really close that gap to where they can comfortably say, okay, now we're down to the last 50,000 square miles of being behind the competition. That's when they really reach parity. That's when they can really sit there and say, okay, we are now very, very close to the competition in terms of coverage. Right? The whole pops and all that stuff where they're saying, oh, we cover the same amount of pops as the competition. No, that's not going to work if you want to grow to fair share. You are going to have to cover the same amount of pops, the same amount of everything, square miles, expansive coverage as the competition. That's just how it works. It's a competitive environment, and you have to go and do it. Now T-Mobile is capable of doing that, and to get all those segments to fair share, they got to put their heads down and they just got to go. They got to go build it. Co-locate, strike the deals with US Cellular, get the 2.5 contiguous. All of that is a part of it. The network has to really be second to none. That's what it comes down to. The brand is good. The marketing is good. I think the value that they include on the plans and what they offer is still great. Now they really have to go and execute this build out. They have to build a coverage on a network that is, it has to be on par with the competition. There is no excuse. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It has to be the same. Wherever Verizon covers natively, T-Mobile has to be there. And the same with AT&T. They have to be on par. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you feel the same for them to get to fair share in all of these segments. Let me know if you say that the network has to be on par. It can no longer be, oh, it's good enough where I live. I don't care if it doesn't work here. No, it has to work everywhere the same as its competition. So let me know all your thoughts in the comment section. I look forward to reading them. Very interesting slideshow here. Again, fair share is the target in all of these, and they have a lot of runway. I would say they will continue growing at a clip of what we see on the quarterly basis for at least the rest of this decade to even try and get close to fair share. So what they talk about and what they present at Deutsche Telekom's Capital Markets Day, October 10th, is going to be very critical. And I'll be tuned in. I'll update you guys. I'll post on X right before, so you guys are aware when that happens. But that's going to be very important because now they're trying to go into fiber when they really still haven't closed the network gap, if we're being honest. They are spending capital out of the CapEx. Now it's capital light, but that's still $950 million that could have went to wireless, to building new sites and all that good stuff. So keep that in mind as you think about that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, like, share, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.